Your unilateral strike endangered us all. I should charge you with treason.
I was within my authority as Admiral of the Heavy Fleet.
And what of Shepherd? And Talizora?
They escaped unharmed. Shepherd, the mission parameters changed. You're military, you understand that.
I understand that you wasted your chance to withdraw safely.
The Dreadnought was a perfect
Little did Admiral Garrel know that he's about to get renegaded.
Admiral, you jeopardized your mission and your people. Get the hell off my ship.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why Renegade is awesome. Oh, and spoilers for the Mass Effect Trilogy to follow.
The time of our return is coming.
The Reapers are obviously just a myth, Commander.
How come we found no trace of their existence? If they were real, we'd have found something.
You won't stand a chance if the whole Reaper fleet shows up. Not unless I find some way to stop them.
Brace for evasive maneuvers!
Entire colonies have been disappearing.
Attacking the collectors would require passing through the Omega-4 relay. No ship has ever returned from doing so.
They tell me it's a suicide mission. I intend to prove them wrong.
You seek to end a cycle that has continued for millions of years. To stop it, you must first understand it, or you will make the same mistakes we did. Your survival depends on stopping them.
Shepherd!
Every mother, every son, every unborn child. They're trusting you, depending on you to win them their future. A future free from the threat of the Reapers.
Perhaps there is still hope.
Hello friends, Hansen here. Welcome back to INT Media, a video games analysis YouTube channel. The Mass Effect Trilogy is one of the best and most meaningful video game experiences I've ever had, full stop. Furthermore, it's not just a great video game series, I genuinely believe that it's some of the best science fiction ever written. It's enshrined in a class of its own, and this is due to a few key important factors. Few games have managed to accomplish what the Mass Effect Trilogy managed to accomplish in terms of its writing on a broad scale. The world building, dialogue, and even the scientific research that went into crafting the narratives behind the so-called fake planets that the player can encounter in the Milky Way galaxy is in itself in a league of its own. The Mass Effect Trilogy also features squad-based third-person shooting, the likes of which are rare in today's industry. Yet there's one thing that Mass Effect implements that at first glance is honestly kind of generic for Western RPGs of its time, a morality system, a system which tracks the good and bad things the player does throughout the game. Yet here again, Mass Effect reinvents the wheel and brings to the table what is arguably one of the most flexible and intriguing morality systems we have yet to see. And in doing so, it gives us the single best so-called evil morality option to have ever been offered in a video game: the Renegade. Let's analyze. Many Western games throughout the early 21st century had leaned into the concept of what game developers would call a morality system, which in essence is a system that measures how good or evil a character is. From 2007 to 2012, the launch years of Mass Effect 1 and 3 respectively, morality systems in video games were a dime a dozen. Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, developed by Bethesda Game Studios and Obsidian Entertainment respectively, famously featured the Karma system, a pretty basic yet serviceable means of tracking the good or evil things the player did throughout the game and rewarded good karma or bad karma in response to these things. Infamous 1 and 2 featured a morality system which carried the same name, Karma, although this time around, the choice of being good or evil was much more relevant to the player's overall gameplay experience, pushing the envelope. The player's choice in morality would directly attribute aesthetic changes to Cole, the protagonist of Infamous 1 and 2. Here, the color of Cole's powers would change, red for negative karma, which is bad karma, or blue for positive or good karma. Additionally, differing karma levels would change the color of Cole's tracksuit in-game. Cole's differing levels of karma, good or bad, would also change the abilities that you can unlock and utilize in combat and gameplay. These are only two examples of morality systems present in games that launched in a similar window as the Mass Effect Trilogy, but there's many other examples we could look to here in order to see the examples of what different morality systems would look like in different games, but my underlying argument is this. The evil morality option in video games typically sucks. Most of the time, if you want to be evil in a video game, you have to play as a psychopathic lunatic, murdering anyone and everyone simply to pursue the status of being evil, even if it betrays common sense in the interests of you as the player. For an example of this, let's look back to Fallout 3 and the famous decision the game offers you to either work with Megaton's sheriff, Lucas Sims, to disarm the nuke that the town is built around for some reason, safeguarding Megaton for future harm, or work with Mr. Burke, the shady agent of Alistair Tenpenny, and rig the nuke to explode and destroy Megaton, completely wiping it off the map. Now, I love that the game offers you this decision in the first place. I think it's a very interesting choice and in many ways can set the tone for the rest of your playthrough, as it's offered to you very early in the game. But here's my critique, fellas. Why would you destroy Megaton? What do you have to benefit from doing that as the player? When analyzing the decision, the pros vastly outweigh the cons. Sure, by nuking Megaton, you get a suite and Tenpenny Tower and you get a lot of caps, but think of all the things you're missing out on by choosing to do this. You completely lose Megaton as a city that you can visit in the game. You lose access to all of the characters, most of the potential quests that lie there, all of the vendors that you can sell things to and buy things from. There's a lot that you're missing out on by choosing to make this so-called evil decision in the game. And furthermore, know that Megaton in Fallout 3 is an essential location for advancing the main quest of the game. Without it, you'll be kinda heading off into the unknown in search of your father, which is a part of the main goal of the game. And so this proves my point, fellas. Playing as an evil character in a game typically sucks because there's few times where you really benefit from playing that way. This was generally the case until the Mass Effect Trilogy came along, where the generic tropes of morality systems in video games were subverted.
You've got two ways down. Express or coach. Your choice.
Even if I knew where he was, I wouldn't tell you.
Not the answer I was looking for. What sound will you make when you hit the ground? Think you'll hear it before you die?
Instead of good and bad karma, Mass Effect features the Paragon and Renegade system, and while at first glance we might tap into our lizard brain way of thinking and associate that Paragon equal good and Renegade equal bad, right? Wrong. Mass Effect's morality system it has in place is much more dynamic and responsive to the type of Commander Shepherd that you want to roleplay as in the game. The morality system works by awarding points, which are typically earned by how you choose to make Commander Shepherd dialogue with other characters in-game. The general rule of thumb for the trilogy is that when utilizing the dialogue wheel, BioWare's innovation on how players interface with dialogue first unveiled in Mass Effect 1, the options that award Paragon points are on the top right of the dialogue wheel, while those that offer Renegade points are on the lower right of the dialogue wheel. And generally, it's going to be in your best interest to stick to either Paragon or Renegade and try to max out your points in one of those respective morality options. This is because, at pivotal points in the story, if you've gained enough points in either Paragon or Renegade, you can obtain a so-called best scenario for that moment in the story, and this is symbolized by the red or blue dialogue options that are going to be at the top left or bottom left of the dialogue wheel. A perfect example of this lies in Mass Effect 3, where Commander Shepherd is facing the choice of choosing between trying to save the Geth or the Quarians, and if you have a high enough point value in either Paragon or Renegade, you can actually force both races to cooperate with one another and avoid having to wipe one of the races out.
This is Admiral Talizora. Shepherd speaks with my authority.
And mine as well.
Negative. We can win this war now. Keep firing.
60%. The Geth are about to return to full strength. If you keep attacking, they'll wipe you out. A few years ago, I saved you from the Geth at the Citadel. Just recently, I helped you take out that dreadnought. 80%. But I'm through saving you. If you keep attacking, I will stand and watch while the Geth lay you to waste. It's your call. Keyless ally.
All units, hold fire.
But here's where it starts to get interesting, fellas. In my opinion, Paragon and Renegade are best observed as personality types rather than good or evil morality options. The Paragon is generally seen as the generic hero personality type. In the Mass Effect Trilogy, if you choose to roleplay as a Paragon, Commander Shepherd will generally be more diplomatic, merciful, cool-headed, and nice. On the flip side, the Renegade is a little more complex than this. Generally, if you choose to roleplay Commander Shepherd as a Renegade, then Shepherd will be more direct, intimidating, badass, and generally a little more violent. And here, fellas, in lies the genius of this morality system. If Paragon is the hero personality, then Renegade is the anti-hero personality, rather than simply being the evil morality option. The greatness of the Renegade stems from the fact that you can literally max out your points as a Renegade and possess all of the badass personality traits of a Renegade, while still shaping Commander Shepherd to be the heroic character that saves the galaxy. In other words, the Mass Effect Trilogy's morality system generally rides parallel to traditional, important story decisions, rather than being all consumed by them. Now, all of this is not to say that you can't be evil in Mass Effect. Throughout the trilogy, you can do some insanely evil things, including cold-heartedly betraying Mordin Solus, leaving the Council in the Destiny Ascension to die, wipe out entire races, as mentioned earlier, such as the Quarian and the Geth. You can kill Rex on the beaches of Vermeer, betray Samara by helping her evil daughter Morinth to help kill her, and trick the Krogan into thinking that you cured the genophage, the cause of their rampant infertility, and more. Now, this is important to mention. Could you play as a Renegade and make these evil decisions? Absolutely. But the beauty of Mass Effect's morality system that highlights its flexibility and ambiguity is that you can still make all of the so-called good story decisions while being a complete renegade, and you won't be penalized for it. And furthermore, it's just generally not in your best interest to be evil and make poor decisions. In doing so, you'll lose access to cool characters such as Rex, Samara, Mordin, and so on. Even as a renegade, to the point of maxing out your renegade points, you can still be a hero and make the good choices, we'll say. You can convince Saren to see the errors of his ways, save the Citadel, the Council, and the Destiny Ascension at the end of Mass Effect 1. You can still possess a fully loyal squad and get your entire crew through the suicide mission in Mass Effect 2. And you can still unite the entire galaxy, defeat the Reapers, and have Shepard survive at the end of the game in Mass Effect 3. All as a renegade. You can still be the hero of the galaxy and unite your crewmates. You might just be a little more badass along the way. Plus, the game doesn't penalize you for making minor decisions that would be considered Paragon in nature. Let's take this for example. In Thane's recruitment mission in Mass Effect 2, you have the Paragon choice of saving this Salarian from dying by offering him Metagel. I think it has to do with the performance of the voice actor that voices Salarian, but I just think that if you choose not to save him here, that's just kind of cruel. So I always choose to save him whether I'm playing Paragon or Renegade. And you never really get penalized for just choosing to do that. And there's other minor instances in the game where if you respond to a character in a Paragon way where you're playing as Renegade and vice versa, it's not really going to mess you up that much. So it gives you the leeway to roleplay and choose to talk to people as Commander Shepherd however you see fit. And as long as you talk in the sort of morality option that you're trying to achieve most of the time, you're going to be fine. On top of this, one of the highlights of playing as a Renegade is that generally it's just fucking hilarious. As a Renegade, you can assault a reporter in all 3 games. You can manipulate a shop in Mass Effect 2 on the Citadel into giving you a discount by accusing them that they're prejudiced against humans and then announcing it to the entire surrounding area in the Citadel. It's just generally really funny stuff.
Hey everyone, this store discriminates against the poor.
Please, calm down. As an apology, I'll let you have my station employee discount. Is that acceptable?
Well.
Also, being a Renegade provides a really cool aesthetic to Commander Shepard in Mass Effect 2 and 3. At the beginning of Mass Effect 2, Shepard dies and is revived by Cerberus via the Lazarus Project. Before Shepard can fully heal, the project is attacked by the Inside. Because of this, Shepard is left with some pretty gnarly scars. You could choose to heal Shepard's scars via the Normandy sickbay later in the game, or you can leave them. If you choose to leave them and max out your Renegade points, Shepard's scars will worsen, giving him or her glowing red eyes and significant facial scars. While this might be a little dramatic, it shows the effects of the player's choices on the player character, which always gets a big ol' chunky thumbs up from me. Plus, it just looks badass, man. In hindsight, I think one of my only critiques about the Renegade morality option is that playing as a Renegade in Mass Effect 1 is just different than playing as a Renegade in Mass Effect 2 and 3. In Mass Effect 2 and 3, Renegade Shepherd comes across as the personality of a direct, gruff, and effective military leader while also performing badass feats from time to time. In Mass Effect 1, Renegade Shepherd is just more of a kind of a grating dick of a character, far less likable than what's seen in Mass Effect 2 and 3.
Commander, is this some kind of game? Are you calling in a report just so you can cut us off again?
You know it.
That never gets old, does it?
It's highly possible Saren is using false information to throw you off balance. Our own intelligence has never turned up any corroborating information.
Oh. Looks like we lost the signal, Joker.
Understood, Commander.
It seems that BioWare saw the potential of Renegade Shepherd in Mass Effect 2 and 3 and smartly made the pivot necessary that allows us to talk about this morality system with such high regard in the ways that I am. The genius here is at the end of the day, even as a Renegade, the so-called evil morality option the game provides you, you're still Commander Shepard, the hero of the galaxy, the first human Spectre, working to defeat the looming threat of the seemingly unstoppable Reapers, working to unite your crewmates and save the galaxy. And in all honesty, fellas, BioWare worked hard to give us a morality system that was flexible and different than other games that came out at the same time as the Mass Effect Trilogy. And while they've had quite a fall from grace, which is observable in games like Anthem and Mass Effect Andromeda, which have been released since the Mass Effect Trilogy, they still ought to be commended for the tremendous job that they did here, especially in cementing Renegade as one of the most versatile and badass morality options that we've ever seen in a video game. So with that, I leave you a montage of badass Renegade Shepherd moments for you to bask in.
That was for Thane, you son of a bitch.
This time the organics are taking control.
Observe the results of their efforts to maintain control.
They're doing fine. You're the ones who should worry. Tell your friends we're coming for them. Never mind. I'll tell them myself.
When we cure the genophage, Warlock Gold will rule all Krogan. The Krogan rebellion.
You talk too much.
See? The human cannot hit a simple target.
And with that, fellas, that's all I have today. I hope that you've enjoyed this so-called lesson in morality options that BioWare has taught us, and hopefully the rest of the industry as they begin to pursue future games that are potentially considering incorporating morality systems. I hope that they look to Mass Effect as a lesson in how this is done and how it's done well, especially as it pertains to the so-called evil morality options. This is Hansen with INT Media, out.